primarily, we were business to customer, selling our service-based online platform directly to consumers one-to-one. We're now taking that almost same curriculum, same concept, and able to sell that directly to schools, right, as a business to business model and create a bigger impact. But it all started with the product. Here's the product. Here's Black Wall Street, the board game. This is our offering. This is our zone of genius. Black history fused with entrepreneurship and financial literacy. And that was able to grow us into speaking engagements. That was able to grow us into providing online courses. And that is what is allowing us to now provide in-person classes and courses inside of some schools.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Welcome back and happy November. So first, I want to say that time is really flying by, and I know it's not just me who thinks this, and I know it's not just my imagination, because literally I just saw a post that said October pulled up, did a head nod, and pulled off. Like, that is so real, because it's really flown by, and I'm like, where has the time gone? So anywho, back to business. Get it? Back to business, black to business. Y'all, I'm so excited because I had so much fun last month with the solo episodes. Like, we got great feedback, and I actually really enjoy doing those. So this month, I'm even more excited because we're bringing back some amazing guests. And just to let you know, we have some amazing people lined up until the end of the year. So even though time is flying by, we still got you with all the things that you need to stay afloat and to keep up. So today I have the pleasure of being joined by game designer and author who inspires you to dream through the untold stories of Black history, and his name is Devon Truvel. Let me share a little bit more about Devon because the work that he's doing is so important for today's topic. In 2017, Devon created Black Wall Street, the board game, to increase financial literacy and Black history knowledge in a fun way. He plans to continue to find innovative ways to inform our community as a game designer, author, filmmaker, and educator. So amazing, and the reason why we invited Devon on the show today because we want him to discuss how to leverage your physical product into a service-based offering. Now, I want to say this. We've been paying even closer attention to who's in our audience, and we know that there are many people who have a product-based business. So with that being said, we know that there are also those of you who are interested in expanding your business and offering services. And you know we got you covered. Today, Devon is actually going to walk us through his own journey of how he's been able to successfully create more opportunities for his business, Play Black Wall Street, by offering services. He's going to provide you with some tips on how you can do this also, but how finding and knowing your zone of genius is going to bring more opportunities. He's even going to touch on the importance of customer discovery and why having multiple offers is good for your business. And oh yeah, we're also talking about the history of Tulsa's Black Wall Street and its significance. So let's get into it. Devon, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. So excited about our conversation today. So welcome to the show.
Monique, it is a privilege and honor to be here. Thank you.
Of course. So I always like to start off with, for my listeners who are not yet familiar with you, if you could just tell a little bit, I know we're going to dive into it further, a little bit about your story. How did you get where you are today, and what is it that you do in your business?
Oh, yes, ma'am. So my name is Devon Truvel. I'm the creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. Really, it started off with, I like to give props to my grandma, give props to my family for exposing me to entrepreneurship. And my grandma exposed me to just the pathway of wealth and real estate early on in life. But I didn't learn about Tulsa's Black Wall Street until my freshman year of college. Wow. So this is 2011. I'm finally learning that, Black folks, we created our own entire city. We had a Black man who was able to buy 40 acres and be very intentional about, just giving that to his people and building a community. So ever since learning about that in 2011, I was really inspired to be an entrepreneur, inspired to build community. So 2000, and, fast forward, I graduated college, 2017. I worked this summer camp where middle school students and high school students had no idea, Monique, about Tulsa Black Wall Street, just like I had no idea back in middle school and high school. I really wanted to find a way to teach them about Tulsa Black Wall Street without having them read books, without having them watch documentaries. So that's where the game really got started, is how can I teach these middle school students, these high school students about the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street without them having to read.
I love it. I love it. And Devon, where are you from again?
Yeah, so I'm from California, Southern California, San Fernando Valley, for those that are familiar. But I've lived in San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles, a little bit of the IE, but I would say I'm a California native.
Love it. Yeah, I was asking also because I'm from the South, and similar to you, I didn't learn about Tulsa until I was older as well. So, just the failure of the education system and just knowing our history is so sad, but a lot of people who can relate to that. So it's just sad. And I'm glad that you've created something that could educate people and on our history. And I'm so glad that you took it and ran with it.
Of course. And there's a quote. I don't know who it's from, but it says the oppressor will never give you the tools and education you need to overthrow them. So it's not unintentional that the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street, that the history of the Black Panthers, that Dennis Kimbrough books, like all this curriculum that could really unlock our minds is not embedded in the K through 12 or K through 16 system. And I think, I don't think that's on accident, Miss Monique.
I agree. I totally agree with you. Yes. So I'm excited to dive into today's conversation, and just to start, there are probably listeners who don't know more or probably don't even know at all about Tulsa's Black Wall Street. So I just wanted to briefly walk us through the history. I know you touched on it. And what do you think made Black Wall Street successful?
Ooh, okay. Without trying to dive into my history rabbit hole moment.
Right. Gotcha.
So, one of the huge things I think made Tulsa Black Wall Street successful is the fact that Tulsa at one point was the oil capital of America. Right. So when we think of just natural resources, it was literally unmatched at that time. In the early 1900s, 1906, 1912, there were oil fields being found all over Tulsa. And here's the kicker, Monique. We owned the land. Right. At that point, we had Africans who owned the land, indigenous Native Americans who owned the land. So as oil was being found, now there were Black millionaires, indigenous millionaires that were being made in the community. Second level of finding the oil is there were a lot of jobs, right? So now everybody in the community is able to get these oil jobs, which created a foundation economy. And now I know we talk about, and there's mixed feelings about trickle down economy in contemporary time. But back in 1906, 1910, when people were finally able to have a steady stream of income, reliable stream of income, now they can go out to the movies. Now they can get their shoes shined. Now they can buy cars. So the leisure economy then started to really take off. That brings me to the second point of why Black Wall Street was successful, is the fact that, African Americans, Black folks, we are a creative bunch of people. Right. If there is opportunity to be made, we will be able to create that opportunity. So we had, John and Lila Williams, who are the owners of William G. Land Theater. They were the owners of Williams Confectionery. If you wanted to have some candy, if you had a sweet tooth, Monique, they also had a car garage, right? So once you got that Model T and maybe your car was having some issues, you can go to their mechanic shop and get your car fixed. So this was one example of a beautiful, strong Black family, John and Lila Williams, that came together, used their gifts to create wealth for their community. We also had amazing people like O.W. Gurley and J. Bradford, who were businessmen, but they were also willing to give people business loans in order for them to start their business, right? So these were two prominent Black businessmen in the Tulsa community. But if Devon moved to Greenwood from Mississippi, or if Monique moved to Greenwood from, where's your family from, Monique?
Georgia.
From Georgia, right? You
Yeah.
just pulled through and you only had maybe $1.25 to your name. You would be able to go to some of these businessmen and be like, hey, I want to start a podcast, or the 1920 version of a podcast. I want to start a newspaper, right? And they would say, okay, here's $20, here's $30, start that newspaper. When you get up and started, go ahead and pay us back. And then you're able to get your dream off and running. And then the last one that I'll say before I dive all the way into the rabbit hole is during that time, with no internet, no podcasts, no PayPal, no cryptocurrency, they were able to have the Black dollar circulate for over 300 days.
Wow.
And crazy. And some of that is because of, discrimination and them not being able to, no choice of using some of the white businesses. But I think also some of it is having that tight knit community, knowing who had each business, who had the shoe shop, who had the mechanic shop, who had the candy store, who had the hospital. Simon Barry had private airplanes. So just knowing everyone in the community and just keeping that dollar circulating. Whereas today, Monique, as you know, the dollar doesn't last 6 hours.
Wow. So sad. And, and it makes me think about some of the research I've been doing lately as well, as far as like just on Black businesses, currently today. And it was talking about how like the median net worth for Black business owners is 12 times higher than Black non-business owners. So speaking about the ability to give loans to, give people the footing that they need to get started is so key. But also investing in these businesses that already exist is so important. I love the work that you're doing. And first, before we dive into the work that you're doing, I want to talk about why it's important for our community to be educated on Black Wall Street's history. I know that you work with youth and you saw the need there. So why do you feel that it's so important for our community to know about this history?
Yeah, and I love that stat you said. You said that Black business owners have an average net worth of 12 times
higher.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm gonna keep that one with me. But for me, it's really about the exposure. For me, growing up in California in the public school system out here, I felt like there was no higher aspirations kind of like poured into me or planted into me in school. Definitely, I was lucky enough to have a beautiful family and they were able to pour that into me a little bit. But going into the K through 12 system and just learning about basically slavery every single time Black History Month comes up, or every single time we're learning about African American history, it's either slavery or civil rights. And even in the civil rights, there's still a tone of being treated as inhuman, right? Until we finally won. So I think being able to grow up and see we can have an autonomous Black community. You can be anything you dream of, right? Whether it is a doctor, whether it is a shoe shiner, whether it is a movie operator, Simon Barry was able to create his own taxi service and bus service. Being able to expose young students to the dreams and possibilities that they have, I think will help create a better Black future. For example, I just came back from the All Black National Convention hosted by Boyce Watkins, and I did a workshop on the introduction to Afrofuturism. And I had 7-year-olds all the way up to 14-year-olds. And Monique, we were talking about building entire Black planets.
Wow.
We were talking about technology that's not created yet. They were talking about creating glasses that had vibranium lenses and were able to connect to the internet and have just really cool technology. We were creating our own Black superheroes that protected us against all the galactic enemies, and just being able to talk to students about what world would you build, I think opens up the possibilities. And then lastly, unfortunately, we become what we are repeatedly exposed to. Right. We understand for humans and specifically for young kids, environment is a huge determinant of your outcomes in school, in life, and beyond. So being able to expose our students to, again, examples of healthy, beautiful Black families who are serious about their wealth, who are serious about circulating their dollar, I think is going to help change some of the things within our society today. There was a statistic that said by the year 2053, and before I say it, I knocked down the statistic, right? It's not going to happen because we're going to listen to your Black to Business podcast. People are going to
Yes.
Wall Street, the board game. People are going to go to conferences, increase their financial literacy. So this future that I'm about to say is not going to happen. That's a fact. But for the sake of the stat, I'm going to repeat it, Monique.
Right. Gotcha.
They said by the year 2053, the median Black family wealth was going to be zero.
What? Yeah, no, that's not happening.
It's not happening, but that's the future that they want to expose us to. It was all over the news. It was in articles. They were on Breakfast Club interviews talking about this stat. And again, it's exposure, right? They're wanting us to see that future and be like, oh, okay, well, let's go ahead and give up. That's our future. There's no point of trying. But I took the opposite approach. And I think people like you, Monique, take the opposite approach of, no, our future is in our hands.
Right.
Let's learn from our history. Let's learn from Black Wall Street. Let's learn from Bronzeville. Let's learn from Rosewood. Let's learn from the Empire of Mali, and let's rebuild our Black communities.
Yes, yes, yes. And speaking of rebuilding, like, I love the work that you are doing. So I want to talk about Black Wall Street, the board game. So walk us through the journey of creating the game and why you decided on a board game.
Yes, ma'am. Again, if I fall into a rabbit hole, Monique, go ahead and
It's okay. We got time.
Okay, beautiful. I'm a talker. So
It's okay.
the idea came from that summer camp that I worked, and leaving the summer camp, I called my queen and I was like, hey, queen, I have this idea, right? I want to create some type of board game around the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. And she was like, it's a brilliant idea, Devon, but I think that already exists. And I was like, dang, really? You think so? So we hopped on the internet, did a little Google search, Monique. And unfortunately, all of the Black centered Monopoly type games that I saw were all based on like stereotypes of the Black community. Right. So they had like, jails everywhere, baby mama drama. Instead of businesses, there were drugs on the board. I was just like, oh, no, this ain't it. This is not it. I want to make a game where you learn literally about Black excellence and you're learning about the real history of Tulsa Black Wall Street. So after doing that internet search, I did my own research on Tulsa Black Wall Street, read some books by Hannibal B. Johnson, Riots to Renaissance. Hannibal B. Johnson is a Oklahoma native historian, brilliant man. Got to meet him when we went to visit Greenwood. Watched a few documentaries, and then started to collect some of the real businesses' names. Started to learn about the history of the Trail of Tears and how on that Trail of Tears they also had Africans with them, enslaved and freed Africans on that Trail of Tears. Started learning about, the oil and how O.W. Gurley bought the 40 acres, and just wanted to embed those gems into the game. Our first version, our MVP, minimum viable product of Black Wall Street, the board game, was in my grandma's house, right? Shout out to grandma again, on a cardboard box. Wow. I just cut out, a cardboard little rectangle, used a marker to kind of draw what I thought the game could look like, used PowerPoint to do the draw cards, did thumbtacks to move as pawns. And then we stole dice, Monique, from this little game called Monopoly. We took the dice out of that game and rolled. And right there, we were able to start to see like, okay, this can work, right? Our MVP works. The concept works. We then invested like $15 and did a printout. I went on Google Draws, just drew a actual printout of the game, printed it at Walmart, and then still cardboard box, glued it to that cardboard box, still had the same thumbtacks, same PowerPoint, same borrowed dice. So again, we're seeing, okay, the evolution of it's working. Some concepts that we were trying out, like a circular board, didn't actually pan out when we wanted to go to prototyping because the circular board was more expensive to mass produce. But this is where I brought in a partner because Monique, I can't draw.
Mm,
I'm not a graphic designer. I'm an educator. I'm
right.
a novice historian, but I am not by any means a
Know your
drawer.
strengths.
Know your strengths, Monique. So I reached out to one of my brothers, Markel, who's the founder of Rare X, amazing graphic artist. And I was like, and this is before he started his business. He was still in college at the time. But I was like, hey, brother, I need your help. All right. This is the concept. This is what I want to do. But I need you to bring it to life, to make it look like it deserves, to actually give, Black Wall Street its due justice with this board game. So he was like, I got you. We came to a business agreement, and then we were able to create the prototypes of the game and the first editions of the game in 2018. And this is where the story takes a little bit of a dip, Monique. Let me talk to you about the journey. Can I talk to you about the journey?
Talk about the journey.
So we did a Kickstarter.
Uh-huh.
And for those that don't know, when you do a Kickstarter, you're raising money for your idea. But if you don't raise the amount of funds that you set as your goal, you get $0. And all the money goes back to the backers, right? So at this time, I was young in the game, Monique. I was optimistic in the game, Monique. And I was listening to some Dame Dash interviews. And Dame Dash was like, I think this was on the Breakfast Club. He said, when you're real, you don't need to market your product. If the product is good and the work is good, you don't need any type of promotion. And I was sitting there as a young, impressionable African-American man about to start my first business. I was like, yeah, Dame Dash said, if you real, money.
Right. No.
So we launched the campaign with no marketing strategy. I was just thinking, this is Black Wall Street, the board game. It's a beautiful product. The Black community got my back. I don't need to market. People are going to see it and they're going to love it. So we're going to set the goal for $28,000. We're going to hit that goal, obviously. And then boom, the rest is going to just work easy. So needless to say, we didn't raise the $28,000. We raised $4,000 and we had to give the money back. I fell into that little imposter syndrome. Can I really be an entrepreneur? Dame Dash thinks I'm not real slump for maybe 2 weeks. And then after that, got some encouragement from the queen, got some encouragement from the fam. And we were just like, you know what? We're going to put our own money up. We're going to make this happen because this is too important to just give up on. And we're going to fund these first editions out of our own pocket. And that's what we did. We funded it out of our own pocket. And then we were able to sell out of first edition games within 2 months, right before Thanksgiving of 2018. And really ever since then, we've been, building slowly and steadily. We had the first edition 2018. We had the second edition in 2019. And in 2021, 100 years after the Black Wall Street Massacre, we created the 2021 edition, aka the Masterpiece Edition, which is a beautiful work of art where we reached out to artists and we said, what does Black excellence look like to you? Or what does Black Wall Street or the future of Black Wall Street look like to you? And they did their paintings, and then we purchased those paintings and we placed them along the board. So the Masterpiece Edition is just really, really beautiful. But that's the ups and downs of the journey. We have, more ups than downs lately, but that is the origin story.
I love, thank you for sharing that story. And I love the power of community and those who were backing you in this process, because like you said, entrepreneurship is up and down. And then we all have been, falling prey to, okay, what someone says on the internet is true. And, it's all of our experiences are different and all of our paths might look different. So I'm glad you were able to share that.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I want to talk about, so you said that the next time you all were able to sell out. Now, how did you find your target audience?
Ooh, great question. So We were in an incubator program early on
Mm-hmm.
that really helped us, or it made us do focus groups every single week. So every single week we had to go out and either do like control focus groups where we, set the schedule and have people come to a location, ask them questions, or like random, Monique, go out into the grocery store, go to Target, go to places and ask people questions. So as we were asking people questions, and some of the questions were, do you play board games in your house? If so, which board games do you play? Do you know about Tulsa's Black Wall Street? How important is financial literacy to you and your family? And do you think you can use board games as a way of teaching? And something that we thought, that all Black families, or we thought that all Black people would be our customer. Because I was like, hey, it's Tulsa's Black Wall Street. Everyone's going to love
Right.
this idea. They'll love this history. That wasn't the case. So we had kind of two niche markets. One was Black families with children, right? Very, very specifically, because, if you're, just a single 45-year-old Black male or a single 38-year-old Black woman, maybe you might not connect to the board game as much. But if you're a family, you have your two partners and you have your children, you like game nights, you like bringing people together. So that was our kind of first niche market, is Black families with children 8 and up. And then the sweet spot, our amazing supportive community that really helped us take off the ground, is the Black homeschooling community.
Oh,
These are
wow.
Oh yeah, these are parents who are serious about education. They've either been homeschooled themselves and they want their kids to have that same experience, or they realize that the K through 12 system isn't going to treat their kids or give the kids the knowledge that they feel they need. So they brought it upon themselves and they took their own responsibility to educate their children. So they take Black history, they take financial history very seriously. So they've been very supportive of the board game. We were able to go to this event that's called Game School Conference in California. And this event really, I think, solidified our niche market in the homeschooling market, because this event is for literally game schooling families, not just Black families, game schooling families all over the nation who use games to educate. So we went there. We were the only game that was built on, history of Black Wall Street or Black history period. We were the only financial literacy game available at Game School Con. So all the families, Monique, right? Obviously the African American homeschooling families, they were definitely showing us love, and they're like, yeah, I need 3 of these games. We're gonna play right now. but
Love
but
it.
but even the different families, right, all colors, all ethnicities were coming up, and they're like, oh, this is great. Like we are looking for ways to teach our family, to teach our kids
Mm-hmm.
Black, and this is a great way to do it. So yeah, we stumbled upon it through focus groups, informal focus groups, and then our niche was really confirmed by being able to go to these in-person conferences and really engage with homeschooling families or engage with Black families who are serious about financial literacy. And when you sell something, Monique, there's that tension of, okay, I'm selling them, I'm giving them my pitch, are they going to buy it, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
tension that you can feel. But when you find that niche market, it's butter, right? There's very little tension, because they already value and they already want what you're trying to provide. They see the value, they see the connection. So when we're at these game school conferences, or when we're at the All Black National Convention and we're talking to our ideal target customer, they even interrupt the pitch sometimes, and they're like, you know what, I'm sold. I got yes. Go ahead. How much?
I love it. That is so amazing. And I think that's so key for listeners to understand the importance of customer discovery, and really, like you said, how much it makes it easier to do business once you know who you're talking to and who you're serving. And
Yeah.
of course, key thing, like you said, is that you thought all Black people would love this, and you found that that's not the case. So yes, I love that. So you walked us through this journey, the startup process to, creating this physical product. One of the things I want to move into is, of course, our audience mostly are professional service providers. And I want to talk about, you didn't stop there. You turned your product into a service offering. So if you
Yeah.
could just discuss like some of the services that Play Black Wall Street offers.
Yes, and we really, stumbled upon some of these blessings, and we're just very, very appreciative for the growth of Play Black Wall Street and kind of the pivots and expansions that
Mm-hmm.
we've been able to do. But I really think that if you have a service-based, business, that's your business model, having your product, whether that product is a book, a board game, a podcast, a course, like all these things almost serve as additional advertisement for you. It'll help you get additional SEO, search engine optimization. The more products you have that are attached to your company, attached to your name. So when people are searching, more things are coming up and they're able to kind of get acquainted with you and build that trust with you as a service-based company through the book that you gave them, through the podcast that they listen to on a daily basis, through the board game that they play. And then you offer services later, and it kind of builds your customer base, right? So that they can keep coming back to you over and over for different services, different products. So in 2019, we got booked for our first 2018, actually, we got booked for our first speaking engagement. And we really weren't considering speaking before, but I had previously worked for UC Riverside, University of California, Riverside, in African-American recruitment. And I knew some of the staff there. They had saw that we created the game, and they're like, hey, do you want to come give the keynote at the Black grad this year? And I was like, yeah. Some of the students
Wow.
that, were working for me at the time, were graduating that year. So to be able to get on stage and congratulate them personally and give them a little bit of motivation and inspiration in their graduation, I was like, yes, I'll do it. Now, in giving that yes, Monique, it was my first keynote speech. So there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of imposter syndrome in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of got me started in speaking engagements. So I was like, okay, people like the board game and they want to learn more about the history. They want to learn more about the business and entrepreneurship journey through a speaking engagement, through a workshop. So let's start offering workshops. Like, why didn't we think of that? Let's start speaking more. Let's start doing workshops to actually teach this history. So we started, traveling a little bit. The Texas Black Chamber of Commerce had us come out and do a workshop for their folks. We've had school districts have us come out and do workshops for them, community colleges, universities. So, and then the speech started being like the intro, right? Like, hey, for Black History Month, or hey, for Financial Literacy Month, we can have Devon, we can have Play Black Wall Street come out and speak about the importance of Black ownership, speak about the importance of starting a business, because we know that Black entrepreneurs, Black business owners have a 12x. What's that beautiful stat, Monique?
It's 12 times more wealth than another.
More wealth. Come on. I'm telling you, I'm taking that with me. So being able to go on the road and have that speech that I give, right, was able to sell also more board games, because then I'm able to talk about the board game, and then people were able to buy that on the website. Then this leads us to 2020. The pandemic happens. No one's doing in-person workshops anymore, right? So there's no way for me to teach these classes or to give these workshops. But this is where the service-based really started to really take off. So in the roadmap of Play Black Wall Street, and like kind of just my own personal ambitions, a school, some type of academy has always been in the distant future. Once the pandemic hit, people were online, people were virtual. We were like, maybe this is the perfect time to go ahead and try, right? Again, let's do an MVP, a minimum viable product of what a school, what an academy would look like teaching the history of Black Wall Street. So we started Play Black Wall Street Academy. This was at first just a 5-week course where kids can join and sign up, learn about the history of Black Wall Street. It was live once a week. We're teaching, had office hours once a week as well. So I really was trying to build it out like a university experience. From there, homeschooling families, and, even at that point, everyone was a homeschooling family, right? Everyone was at the house.
Right.
Families were like, we can't always make the live sessions. Do you mind recording the sessions, putting them online so that we can consume them at any time? And I was like, yeah, like that's something we can definitely do, right? Again, listening to the customer's needs. So we then took Play Black Wall Street Academy, which was a virtual live once a week experience to, okay, let's record some higher quality videos. Let's put them on our portal, Play Black Wall Street Academy, where you can now register for classes, and $14, you now have access to the history of Tulsa Black Wall Street as a course. For $15, you now have access to the history of Mansa Musa. For $8, you now have access to Introduction to Afrofuturism, and you can consume it at any time. There's quizzes in there. There's study guides provided. And that's really how Play Black Wall Street Academy as a service was able to start. Fast forward, maybe another year, right? We're in 2021, towards the end of 2021. Now we have the online academy, but schools are starting to come back. They're starting to leave the virtual environment. The homeschooling community is still very much so using the virtual environment, but the kind of majority of education, or majority of our scholars, are now going back to in person, which was beautiful, because now that they experienced Tulsa's Black Wall Street, they experienced our service virtually, they went back to their schools and they were like, hey, we need this service in person.
You're right.
So this year we were able to start our mentorship program, teaching at some LAUSD schools. We taught at some Riverside Unified schools. Shout out to Riverside. And we were able to kind of take this curriculum of entrepreneurship, of financial literacy, of Tulsa's Black Wall Street, and now provide that as a service directly to schools. So not only have we kind of shifted a little bit or added on our business model, whereas primarily we were business to customer, selling our service-based online platform directly to consumers one-to-one, we're now taking that almost same curriculum, same concept, and able to sell that directly to schools, right, as a business to business model, and create a bigger impact. But it all started with the product. Here's the product. Here's Black Wall Street, the board game. This is our offering. This is our zone of genius. Black history fused with entrepreneurship and financial literacy. And that was able to grow us into speaking engagements. That was able to grow us into providing online courses. And that is what is allowing us to now provide in-person classes and courses inside of some schools.
I love that whole process, like just so amazing. And Devon, it makes me think people who are listening, they're probably likely offering products as well. So do you think that business is offering products should consider or shifting to services? And do you think that there are specific types of businesses that should consider this in general, or just any business can offer?
I think every business needs to have multiple offers. Right. So I think having the product and having your multiple products is good, but you want something that's going to keep your customers coming back, and you want to make sure you can kind of maximize that lifetime value of that customer, both for your own economic gain, but also for that customer. Right. Your business has value. You have value. And the more that you can offer your customer, your audience, the better you're going to be able to make their lives as well. So whether it's a membership or some type of subscription model to your business, right? Car wash, nails, podcast, books, coaching. There's some type of way that you can have a ongoing membership, whether it's a annual retreat or quarterly retreat that you're able to now offer through your business. So if they use your tax services every year, you also do a tax retreat. If you're a real estate agent and I've sold your home, you're also able to come with us on a real estate investment retreat and just further your knowledge of real estate. If you have your podcast, you're able to do a invest fest, like Earn Your Leisure, right? So you're able to join the EYL University team. So I think it's really becoming the business model to have an additional service, a membership, or some way of building a community within your business for the longevity of it. I think it's definitely going to depend on the type of business that you're in. But so far in my imagination, I don't see a product or a product that can't also be matched with a service. And I don't see a service that also can't be matched with a product. I think in today's economy, you definitely are going to want to have both.
I love that advice. And one of the things you spoke about is your zone of genius. You knew your zone of genius, and this is what was able to kind of help you get into that service offering space. But then also you mentioned how, it was speaking that kind of led that and happened like accidentally in a sense. For someone who is listening, like what advice would you give them on finding what area of their business they should offer as a service and even testing that? We talk about, finding your customers and such. So what advice would you give them?
Great question. So I got two, I think, Monique. The first one is you got to I got three.
Okay.
You got to definitely take some type of personality assessment to really know who you are, right? Before you can grow your business and really identify the brand and the personality of your business, of your vision, I think you need to take some time to really know who you are, what your strengths are. So I took a DISC assessment. You can take a DISC assessment. There are some that are free. There are some that are cost you maybe $100. There are other personality tests, but in every single personality test that I've taken, it always says that I'm a people person. It always says that I'm energetic. It always says that I need to be engaging with people. It says that and this is what the assessments say. It's not what I say. It says that I'm a motivator. It says that I'm an inspiration. It says that I'm a visionary. It says that I'm a dreamer. And these are things that I've always thought, right? But being able to actually take an assessment, have someone break down that assessment to you, have a coach break down that assessment to you, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I am a dreamer. I thought I was a dreamer. And no, this is a fact. I am a dreamer. I'm a visionary. I'm a people person. So what can I do in business that highlights those gifts? And for me, speaking highlights those gifts. Doing workshops highlights those gifts. Just any type of people engagement, tabling, all of that works to my strengths. Number two, what you should do is also understand your weaknesses, Monique. So
right.
In the DISC assessment, I was a very high I, right? So people oriented, ideas, vision, speaking, I'm great at. Detail oriented tasks, my sister, are not something that I strive in, right? So early on in the business, I was doing all the POs. I was writing all the proposals. I was editing all the videos. I was creating the websites, and all of that was a lot of detail oriented stuff that had to get done, but it took a lot of mental energy, physical energy, emotional energy away from me. So then I wasn't able to have all the energy that I could in the other things. But this is where you need to find partners. You need to find other people who can fill in those gaps that you have. So the one gap was, again, I couldn't draw. I'm not the most visually artistic person. So I had my brother come in to help me with the art form or an artwork. I'm not the most detail oriented person. So the queen actually became the first full-time employee of Play Black Wall Street. She was our director of logistics. Yeah, we can snap it up for the queen.
Yeah, I love it.
Queen. But she was the first full-time employee of Play Black Wall Street, and she started as our director of logistics and operations. So all the POs she sends, everything that we need ordered, she buys. Every time we travel for a speaking engagement, she's booking the flight, she's booking the hotels, and that's just stress and just, thought space that I don't need to think about anymore. So how can you find a partner, either a life partner who you're already rocking with, and build that business together? Find a friend, or go online and find another person who's passionate about the work that you're doing and who can fill the gaps or the weaknesses that you have. And then the third bit of advice is get out there and don't be afraid to fail, right? You gotta try some things. Again, our Kickstarter flopped, right? Kickstarter did not work, but it kind of re-ingrained in us, okay, for every drop, for everything we do, we need a marketing strategy. We need a promotion strategy. That is a non-negotiable. Another thing is we were able to go out and go to conferences, try to sell at different conferences. And finally, we found our niche market by going to a lot of different, in-person farmers markets, vending engagements. And finally, we were like, all right, Game School Con, this is our market. Game schooling or Black homeschooling families. All Black National Convention, this is our market. Black families who are passionate about building wealth and Black history and the Black community. This is our zone. So those would be my three, right? Know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, find people who can fill in the gaps and weaknesses that you have, and then get out in the world virtually or in person and engage with your community and really find who your people are, who your niche market is.
Such great advice. I took away something from that, and I'm pretty sure people who are listening are also going to take away something from that. And I want to end it off by talking about the work that you're doing and what you have coming up. So first, I want to ask you, do you feel that there can be a modern day Black Wall Street? Easy. Will it eventually be? Okay. And if so, how can we push towards this happening?
Ooh, okay. Ooh, I'll Monique, dog. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try not to fall off. So 100%, there can definitely be a modern day Black Wall Street. And I think there are still, some pockets of very successful Black communities. When you go out to an Atlanta, you can feel the difference, right? We're out here in California. There's definitely some Black owned businesses, but going out to an Atlanta, going to a Charlotte, going to pockets of Chicago, like there's just a different, there's just a different concentration of Black brilliance, Black businesses, and Black wealth. But to your point, there's still plenty of land in America, Monique. Mm-hmm. I think in order for us to really rebuild a Black Wall Street in the way that it looked, 100 years ago, we're going to need to be willing to leave the comfort of some of our cities for a little bit and actually build. Mm-hmm. All right. Black Wall Street was built brick by people. They didn't just go and, buy, real estate that was already built in certain areas. No, they had a whole 40-acre plot of land, and brick by brick, they built that up. And we need to do something similar here. Just like in Georgia, there was a group of 19 families, I believe, that bought 40 acres as well. And they called it Freedom, Georgia. And, they're doing farmland there. They're hosting movie nights out there. So how can we have 20 families in every state, 50 families in every state, pull together, I don't know, $10,000 each? So we have, the 50 families, $10,000 each. That's $500,000 in each state. Buy some land and start building. So I think it is very possible. That's one version. Another version of Black Wall Street that we are, I think, actively rebuilding is the virtual community. Mm-hmm. Right? We have your podcast, Black to Business. We have our board game, playbblackwallstreet.com. We have WeBuyBlack.com. We have the official Black Wall Street app. Like, there's so many places where Black business owners can congregate, learn, build community, invest with each other. Again, shout out to Earn Your Leisure. Invest with each other and be able to create a digital version of Black Wall Street where we're able to own our digital real estate and the money's able to flow from Black business to Black business or Black consumer to Black business and circulate our dollars. So I think now more than ever in 2022 and beyond, we have the power to at least build a digital Black Wall Street and really be able to track where our money is going. So one of my charges for folks on here, I'm sure your community is already doing this, but find, 2 to 3 Black businesses that you can spend your money at on a consistent basis, right? Mm-hmm. Your toothpaste, your toothbrush, your pancake mix, your shoes. Shout out to Sia, shout out to Rock Deep. There's this really good shoes out there. Your fashion, Rare X, Anomaly, Dianu, your podcast, Black to Business. I don't know if y'all have a business model where you're charging for membership, but if they do, give Black to Business $5 a month to be able to get there. content, Monique. I feel you. But there's a lot of amazing businesses out there. So being able to find your five that you can support on an ongoing basis, your five that you are kind of an ambassador for out there in the community, I think is a way that we can slowly but surely build out that digital Black Wall Street. And then hopefully eventually we can have our own physical cities. Real quick, because I know this is a concern. It was a concern for my grandma when I started this business, and it's probably a concern for a lot of other people, is safety, right? As soon as Black Wall Street, the board game, started getting a little popular, getting a little traction, my grandma's already like, be careful, sweetie. Like you know what happened to the original Black Wall Street. So be careful about trying to rebuild one, or be careful about even talking about it, because they might come for you. And I think that's probably the primary concern about rebuilding a Black community, because at this point, Monique, we know we have the money, right? With the individual celebrities, the people, the business owners, technically we have the money to rebuild. But I think there's that fear of, if we rebuild, will they attack us again? Will they burn it down again like they did so many other Black communities? So we really need to come up with a strategy on how we can build something that is safe. We need to make sure that we can build something that we can have a force behind, that is protecting that community, protecting that real estate, protecting those families. But I do believe in the future, in our lifetime, we will see Black Wall Street rebuilt.
Amazing. And true leadership. You gave us a plan of action. I love that. And of course, like you said, that is something that people do think about. So I'm glad that you addressed that as well.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the future looking like for Play Black Wall Street?
Oh, so right now we are in the middle of a fundraising campaign for our Rose and Rodney animation series. So always trying to grow and find new avenues that we can teach the history of Black Wall Street to all ages. The board game is for 8 and up. That can be found on playblackwallstreet.com. You can get your second edition of the board game today at playblackwallstreet.com. But we wanted to create something that can be a little bit more passive, in looking at how, our little ones are engaging. They're very attached to the device. They're watching things all the time. So we were like, what can we make that is going to be engaging for, 3-year-olds to 7-year-olds to 9-year-olds, but is also going to be educational. So first we started off with a book. It's called The Black History Adventures of Rose and Rodney. It's about Rose and her little brother Rodney, who travel back in time from 2053. Remember, we talked about that year earlier. They travel back in time from 2053 to 1914 in Tulsa's Black Wall Street during its heyday. And they engage with Madam C.J. Walker, with O.W. Gurley, with Mabel B. Little, and all the entrepreneurs of Greenwood. And this is a book, but we are in the middle of turning this book into an animated series. And we were able to secure Kim Coles from Living Single in order to be the narrator and Madam C.J. Walker in the animated series. So we have big visions for this series. It's going to be an 8-episode season, and season 1 is going to focus on Tulsa's Black Wall Street. But as we grow the animated series, we want this to be the new SpongeBob for the Black community, the new Phineas and Ferb for the Black community. And every season is going to cover a different Black community, right? So from Kemet, Mali, Bronzeville, Seneca Village, Allensworth, where we want our community to be able to learn about this history through the animated series. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go to playblackwallstreet.com and click on the Support the Rose and Rodney campaign. You'll be able to watch our campaign video and learn about the vision of Rose and Rodney. In addition to that, we are growing our partnership with schools, right? Because we understand that K through 12, they need our support in teaching Black history. They need our support in teaching ethnic studies, and they need some creative, engaging ways of teaching financial literacy. So instead of just complaining about the problem, we've reached out actively to school districts and schools, and we're like, hey, how can we support you? So we have our college mentors, which we train. We have UCLA college mentors. We have a LMU grad student who's getting his MBA, and we're going through the Black Wall Street curriculum. We're going through the entrepreneurship curriculum, teaching them, and then they then go into the schools and they teach the high school students how to start their business. And at the end of the program, there's a pitch competition. I might give you an invite, Monique, if you want to fly out to LA.
Yeah.
It's competition. It's going to be in February. But yeah, we're going to have these schools compete. Over 100 scholars going to all meet at one campus, and then we're going to have a really fun pitch competition. And then there's going to be a really dope prize for the winning team. So that's kind of the two big lanes and big vision as Play Black Wall Street grows, is we want to grow in the edutainment space and how we can take Black history and finances and put it into animation and definitely put it into additional games for families and kids to be able to learn. But then we're also growing formally in the education space and how we can partner with where our students currently already are and just try to develop and support the curriculum within the schools to have more Black studies, ethnic studies, and financial literacy. And again, all of that can be learned about at playblackwallstreet.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at playblackwallstreet. Street just has the ST. Appreciate you, Monique.
I love it. And congratulations for getting Kim to be a part of this amazing project and just all of the things that you're doing. I love how you just walked us through literally how to go from a product to offering all of these amazing things. So thank you for sharing that. And I've never been to LA, so I'm always down to support the community. Yes.
It's good. We're going to get you on a trip. Well, once it's confirmed, I'll reach back out to you so we can get you on a plane out here, Monique.
Love it. Now, Devon, you got to tell me, how do you manage it all? Like, or do you have some of your favorite tools, resources that help you stay organized and accountable?
Yes, great question. So one, the good old Google Calendar, right? I'm going to start simple. Every appointment, every meeting, sometimes even projects get put on that Google Calendar because my brain sometimes gets all over the place. So I go ahead, I put on the calendar to make sure. Number two is Asana. It's a project management tool, task tool, team management tool. And once we started hiring on staff members to do video editing, to, help us host our podcast, to help do games and projects, it was really easy to have Asana all in one place. You can do notes. You can attach files, you can assign tasks, and you can have a calendar view of when things are due and how your projects are going. So Asana has been a really good. There is a free version of Asana that lets you do some work. At this point, we have upgraded to the paid version, but Asana has been beautiful to us. Another one is definitely PayPal. I mean, that's what we use at this point for our invoices. So we'll send the estimate, we'll send the invoice via PayPal. You can do a PDF export from there. And then the vendors can then choose to pay you by credit card via PayPal, or they can go ahead and mail you the check and you put all the information on your invoice via PayPal. Shopify is where our website is being hosted. I think it's $29, $29.99 a month can get you started. They also had a free version of Shopify as well to just, if you just want to put your foot in the water, test out Shopify a little bit, test out the idea. But yeah, Shopify also makes things very easy. None of these people are sponsors of this podcast. And if they're not, they should definitely start sending Monique some sponsorship data and sponsorship funds. Let's see, any other tool. And on the daily, old school, I have either a notebook or I have a whiteboard where I'll write down just the tasks that need to get done today. Right. So that's one of the first things I do every morning. I wake up, I drink my water with some apple cider vinegar or lemon to get my body right. I meditate, I do a short little workout, and then I will write down the things that need to get done today. I'll put that somewhere visual, and that also really helps me stay focused and stay on track short term, because sometimes I think too long term and I'm not taking care of the things that need to get done today, right now, Devon. So I write those things down to keep me on track. So I think those are some good tools to start off with if you're trying to get focused, trying to launch your business, or you're trying to take the business to the next level.
I would definitely be sure to put those links in the show notes. And Devon, you also mentioned that you have a podcast, so please share with my listeners your podcast so that they can check it out as well.
Oh, yes. Appreciate you. Me and the Queen, we host a podcast together. We are very focused on creating strong, beautiful, healthy, and wealthy Black families. So our podcast is called Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making, the M4 show, Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making. You can search that on YouTube or on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We do live shows every single week. We did our live show yesterday in Charlotte, and we have guests come on that talk about tax strategies, real estate investing, or they'll just talk about, like, there'll be an entrepreneurship couple that will talk about how they balance love, business, kids, travel. Sometimes they're 9 to 5 and their business all at the same time. We understand that only 2% of Black families have a net worth of $1 million or more. Only 2%, and over 50% of the Black population is unmarried. And to me, I just feel like, Monique, that Black love and building a beautiful Black family, whatever that looks like, is one of the most revolutionary things that you can do.
I agree.
Thank you. So that's Melanated Married Millionaires in the Making. We promote Black love, Black family, and Black wealth every single week.
Beautiful. Now, Devon, someone is listening, and what advice would you give someone in their first 2 years of business?
Don't stop. That's hands down what I would say. Our first 2 years were rough. We had that Kickstarter where we failed. We had the first year where we didn't really make any money. We kind of broke even on our money. But we're in year 5 going into year 6 now. And this is where we're starting to see the real growth, right? So when you plant that seed and your business idea is that seed, you got to water it. You got to make sure the soil is nutritious. You got to make sure it's getting the right sunlight, and it's going to take time for it to grow, and you're going to see it sprout. Right. And I've tried to grow stuff in real life, Monique. It never works out, but it works in business. You're going to see that seed start to sprout. And when it sprouts, sometimes we think, oh, okay, it's growing now. We can let it go. We can stop marketing on Instagram. We can stop doing the podcast. We can stop tabling in person because I see the sprout. It's growing. So I can just leave it alone now. False. You're in those 2 years. You're in your 3 years. Make sure you keep watering it. Keep making sure it's in the sunlight. Keep making sure it gets outside and exposed to other people, other businesses. And don't be afraid to innovate. Right? Just because something worked last year, now TikTok's out. Now maybe you need to try a little bit of TikTok stuff. Now people are in home and they're no longer in person. They're virtual. Now you need to try some virtual things. So I would say, number one, please don't stop. Make sure if this is something that you're passionate about, this is something that you love, you don't give up on that dream. But at the same time, as you're not stopping, you need to constantly be on your toes and be willing to innovate and pivot your idea for the betterment of the impact and the betterment of the vision. But I believe in you. You can do it. You can succeed. You will succeed. Just don't you stop.
I felt it. I know they felt it. So thank you. I have one final question. What does it mean to you to be Black in business?
What does it mean to me? Man, it means you got to be willing to give value to your people. I think I have this argument all the time with folks about Black capitalism, or just Black people being able to create businesses that not only create wealth for themselves, but that add value to your community. And I think when you're Black in business, you have a dual responsibility to yourself, to your own business, to your own family, but also to ensure that whatever it is that you're producing is a betterment and adds value to the Black community. So if you're Black in business, you need to make sure you are putting that value back in the Black community.
Great. Well, Devon, this has been amazing. And I'm pretty sure people are going to want to know, how can they find you, support you and connect with you. So please share social media, any other information that they may need.
Yes, thank you, Monique. It has been great, and it's I just got back from the All Black National Convention. We landed at 11:55 in LAX PM. We got back home at 1:30 a.m. I got up for this podcast at 5:30 a.m. to make sure I didn't miss it. So just know it's been a lot of love, and I appreciate the platform that you're building for our community and the frequencies that you are sending out to our people. So just before I give my socials, just huge thank you and round of applause to you, Monique. I know it's not easy. I appreciate you. For me, you can find us on, again, playblackwallstreet.com. That's playblackwallstreet.com in order to get any of our products and support the vision, mission, and value. And then you can follow our Play Black Wall Street Instagram. That's at Play Black Wall Street. Street is just ST. From there, I do a lot of collaboration posts, so you'll eventually be able to follow my personal page. But at this point, I'm very laser focused on promoting the brand, promoting the business, promoting the vision. So definitely y'all go follow Play Black Wall Street, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Wasn't that amazing? And it's still crazy to me how Devon shared his personal story of not knowing about Tulsa's Black Wall Street until he was in college. And I also shared my own story of not knowing about it until I was an adult. So crazy. And it just further shows how we as a community have to make sure that we know our history and that we don't leave it to others to teach us our history. This is why I'm so happy that things like Play Black Wall Street exists, because not only does it educate us on our history, but it does so in a fun way. So please make sure that you support. And I also love how Devon shared how he fell into offering services and ran with it. His business has grown so much as a result, and he's been able to serve even more people. So I love that. You may check out all the resources mentioned during this episode, along with ways to stay connected with and support Devon by visiting blacktobusiness.com/120. And I just want you to know that I love you dearly, and I am so proud of you for showing up for yourself, for your business, and for your community. And know that what you're doing or what you're about to do is necessary, and we are here to support you. So I will see you next week, same time, same place.